Debbie with Kip's Corner. Welcome back, and if you are new, welcome. So when I showed my Rooster Rooster cover, I talked about the steps I took to get to the background, but I had done it off camera. And so I made a promise, and I'm hold true to my promises, that I would do the same steps for some tags and to show you how I got that background color looking like I did. So what I've done, I've got two tags here. I'm actually going to make two, probably sort of simultaneously. And what I did was I took these are just regular, this is a chipboard tag. These are both regular chipboard tags, just two different brands. So they're slightly different sizes. I'm not sure, one of them, I think that's a Prima one. Anyway, so what I did was put crackle paste and sand texture paste on the back, just sort of smacked it on there without really paying much attention. You know, I didn't really put it on in a pattern or a specific place. I just slopped it on, let that dry overnight, and then I put a layer of cream gesso on top. And this is, if I say it right, Derivan Métis cream gesso. So it's gesso with a little bit of coloring in it. And so that's done. And then I stuck some chicken wire down. It's true, real chicken wire that I just cut. Again, random. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to where I was cutting. And I cut two pieces, and then I adhered that with some Liquitex matte super heavy gel. So it's a matte gel medium, but it's super heavy. So it's really thick and it dries pretty quick, and it's really sturdy. So this is on here pretty good, and it's almost dry. I think it's dry enough to do this, I hope. So that's all I've done so far. That's the prep, and that's the pre-work that took, you know, waiting for it to dry and all of that good stuff. So from here, I just started layering, and what I was doing was looking for, I don't know what I was looking for, but I knew that when I found it, I know that I had found it, and that's where I landed on the cover of Rooster Rooster, on that panel. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing I did then. I started with some Acrylic paint. This is blackberry, I think. Yeah. It's blackberry, and it's a reddish, brownish, it's a blackberry color, I guess. And, oh, I don't have any paintbrushes out here. Well, hold on. Let me grab one. All right, these will work. I started just with some water and with this blackberry paint, just kind of dabbing in places, and then spraying it and getting it wet, and just dripping. But you can see when I got it wet, it went into a bit of a sort of a putty color. No, not putty, kind of a gray, and I didn't love that. So, because that really wasn't what I was looking for. So I did a little bit of that, not much, just a little here and there. And then I said, not loving it. But it formed the beginning of a bit of a base. Let's get that off of there. So, in order to recreate, I'm going to just do the same thing. And again, I'm just doing some dabbing and then spraying. And I still am getting a little bit of that metal in there, that metallic color in there. And it's forming a pretty good base. And just I'm scooting it around, spraying, turning, twisting, letting it drip off the edge. I'm not leaving any hard edges. So let's do the same thing over here. So that was the beginning. As you can see, like I said, it's kind of gray, meh. I thought, okay, not loving where that's taking me. And I could do heavier paint, less water, and I would probably be happy with it. But from there, then I dried. So what you want to do when you're doing layers like this is you want to dry between layers. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with some mud, and you don't want mud. So give it a good smack with the heat between layers, or walk away, either works. So even though I didn't like this, or I didn't want to stop there, is probably a better way to say that, it began to form a base. I'm getting a little bit of color on the base, which was exactly what I needed to do to start off. After I did that, then I used Infusion. Infusion is a powder very much like Lindy's Magicals, except it has an India ink base. And so when you add water, you see some browns, if you will. This particular one is called, and they come in these little plastic jars, and I just poke a hole in the top and put a pin in, that's a thumbtack, put a thumbtack in the middle of it just to keep it closed, and then I can just shake on here like this. So I'm just gonna shake a bunch of this on here. And I'll tell you why I didn't stop. Well, I kept going after this too. So let me just get some good shakes. And I'm just randomly shaking. And I'll do the same. I'll just go ahead and do the same to this one. And these powders are so fun when you add water to them. They're sort of kind of like magic. What happens to them, and what they do with the color. I probably have way too much on there, but that's okay. It'll spray off. So now I'm just gonna start spraying. Now, what I don't like about the powders is I don't like clumps of powdery. So I just took my brush and just, and wherever I saw the clumps, I just kind of mooshed them around. You can see that color. It's really pretty color. And then I sprayed a little bit more. And then I'll just dab it off. Let it run off. Squish it around a little bit. Roll it around, let it get in those cracks and crevices. Get down to the edge. Let it roll off the edge. There we go. And let's do the same thing over here. This is messy, like I don't know how to do this without getting it on my hands, except for wearing gloves and meh. And then I'm going to, take my brush and just do the same thing. I'm just moving the little clumps, if you will, because there's, the powder. I'm just moving the clumps around, and you don't have to. You can leave you can leave that effect, which is a cool effect. But I just like smooshing them so that they don't leave splotches. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll this around. I've got plenty of moisture on here, and this is just a paper chipboard tag, but it's holding the water well. When it dries, it may warp just a little, which is fine. There we go. I'm gonna dry it. What do I do with my dryer? It's right here. I'm gonna dry both of them again. So you can see, even with doing pretty much the same thing on these, I've got two very different colors, but neither one of them is really yet what I got on the original background. That's because there's more layers. So the next thing I did after that, so this still, I thought this is getting there, right? This is getting closer to what I was looking for and what I was trying to achieve, but it wasn't quite there yet. So I decided to add another layer of Cattail Copper Brown Lindy's Starburst Sprays. I've had this for a really long time. I have no idea if it's still available. I don't know. But it's a really pretty color and it's got a coppery sheen to it. I'm gonna bring this down just a little bit so I'm in frame. And all I did was get it nice and shook up because some of the particles will settle to the bottom of your bottle. And then I just sprayed. And then I was like, okay, now we're getting there. We have that darker base, but, oh my, I've got junk underneath my fingernails. So I gave that a dry. All right, but I still wasn't quite where I wanted to be. I didn't want the background to have quite so much of that shiny, bright copper, especially that you're seeing on this one. Let me show you if I can get it up close. But it's almost there. Sorry for the squeaking. My dog is playing with her toy. So they're almost there. Not quite, almost. So next up, I grabbed some liquid acrylic. This is Umber. It's from Prima Marketing Art Alchemy, and it's, like I said, it's Umber, and it's liquid acrylic. And I just put some in a dish, and then I added, oops, I got a water spot over here. I added some water to it and watered it down. And then I took a clean brush. Here, I'll take this one. And I just took that and I just dabbed over the whole thing. And then I think, if I remember correctly, I also watered this down even more after I dabbed on it. So let's do that. And then I was happy because now we're starting to get those browns. Even though umber is not really brown, we're starting to get those browns that I was looking for. Mixed in with the copper and the rust. And when you add it all together, I thought this got there. So let me dab that off. And let's do the same thing over here. I don't know if I'll be able to get all this ink color off my fingers. Oh, and so I pretty much went over pretty much the whole thing. What I didn't go over actually with my brush, I dripped into it. And I was working really to tone down some of that really bright, vivid metal in the background. And I didn't necessarily want to tone all of it down, but I did want to take it down a notch. I'm adding a little bit more umber to this one. Just what's left in my palette here. So I don't A, waste it, but B, I feel like this one still has a little bit more of that shimmer than I wanted. So I'm just gonna get a little bit more of that umber on there, which is gorgeous. Now these are, you know, you've just seen that I put the same layers on there, probably not the same amounts, I'm not measuring anything, but my colors are coming out pretty different, which is okay. I don't mind that, I like it. Next up is, again, Prima Marketing, Metalik. This is Metalik Wax and Vintage Gold. So this was the next thing that I did. My fingers are so dirty, it won't matter. And here, I wanted to get the gold on top of the chicken wire too, to the extent possible. So I wasn't trying to avoid it at all. If I had wanted the chicken wire to stay, to stay silver and not get anything on it, I would have put it on after I did all the coloring to the base. But I actually did want to get some color, turn that chicken wire just a little gold. And so I'm just lightly rubbing over some of my background, all of my background actually, hitting the highlights with the gold, these bumpy surfaces that I created with the texture paste and crackle paste, and that's it. Oh, and I also, I'll do that here in just a sec. Well, actually, I'll do that probably last, but I also added some patina waxed paste around a little bit of the edging of this. That's good. That's pretty silver there. Let's see if we can get. And so that's close. All right, let's do this one and let's see. Looks like the rest of it is fine. Just that one spot. But there it is. That is, I think this one looks probably closer. A little more of the copper coming through on here. I think I probably covered it up a little too much maybe with, but it's got some of the copper down here. This one definitely has way more gold on it, which is fine. And if I wanted to, before I put the wax on, I could have sprayed it again with Lindy's, but I think this gets me where I want to be. So now, once these dry thoroughly, and I'll let them sit overnight, they will be ready for, sorry, I got goober glue all over me. They will be ready for me to start adhering the whatever I'm going to put on there. And so I will do that after they sit overnight and get a good drying in. And so I'll be back to finish these.